I never thought I'd be the type of person to experience real fear. I had always been rational, the kind of person who double-checks locks but doesn't get paranoid. That changed in the fall of 2019 when I moved into an old rental house in Portland, Oregon. It was supposed to be a fresh start, a cozy home for me and my dog Luna. Instead, it became the setting of the most terrifying experience of my life. I found the house online, 2 bedrooms, hardwood floors, and, best of all, a cheap rent price. The landlord, a quiet older man named Mr. Beckett, seemed eager to rent it out. He didn't ask many questions, just handed me the keys and reminded me that the house had some quirks. The first week was uneventful. I unpacked, walked Luna through the neighborhood, and settled into my new life. But by the second week, things started to feel off. It started small. Items in my house weren't where I had left them. A glass I could have sworn was in the sink would be on the counter. A cabinet door I was sure I had closed would be slightly ajar. I chalked it up to absent-mindedness. Moving was stressful, and I figured I just wasn't paying attention to the little things. Then came the noises. At night, when everything was quiet, I would hear faint creaks from above me. The first time, I dismissed it as the house settling, but as the days passed, the sounds grew more distinct. Footsteps, slow, deliberate steps moving across the ceiling. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe squirrels in the attic, maybe just my imagination. But Luna didn't think so. Every time the noises started, she would perk up, ears stiff, staring at the ceiling. Sometimes she would growl, low and menacing. One night, I couldn't ignore it anymore. I had been lying in bed scrolling through my phone when the footsteps started. But this time, they didn't just pace. They stopped, right above my room. A chill ran down my spine. My breath caught in my throat as I listened, frozen. And then, something new. A soft, deliberate tapping, like someone knocking on the attic floor. I grabbed Luna and locked my bedroom door. I barely slept that night, too afraid to move, listening to the creaks and taps above me. The next morning, I called Mr. Beckett. "Do you know if there are animals in the attic?" I asked, trying to sound casual. There was a long pause. Then he sighed. "You should stay out of the attic." That was not the answer I wanted. I pressed him, but he just repeated himself. "Stay out of the attic." Then he hung up. I wasn't the type to just let things go. If there was something or someone up there, I needed to know. That afternoon, I grabbed a flashlight and a baseball bat and pulled down the attic ladder. A rush of dust and stale air greeted me as I climbed up. The attic was cramped, filled with cobwebs and old boxes. I swept the flashlight around, my heart pounding. And then I saw it. In the far corner, just beyond a stack of boxes, was a small sleeping area. A thin, dirty mattress, a few empty food wrappers, a half-empty water bottle. Someone had been living in my attic. My stomach turned as I backed away, nearly falling down the ladder. I grabbed my phone and dialed 911, my hands shaking. The dispatcher assured me an officer would be there soon, but those 10 minutes felt like an eternity. The police searched the attic but found no one. They said it looked like whoever had been staying there had left recently. They also found something I had missed in my panic. Tiny holes drilled into the attic floor. Holes that lined up perfectly with the vents in my ceiling. Whoever had been living up there had been watching me. That was enough for me. I packed a bag, took Luna, and left that night. I crashed at a friend's place until I could break my lease. Mr. Beckett didn't even argue when I told him I was leaving. I don't know who had been living in my attic, how long they had been there, or why they left when they did. But to this day, I still get chills thinking about the soft tapping sound above my bed, like someone trying to get my attention, like someone letting me know they were there. I never used to be afraid of the woods. Growing up in North Carolina, I had spent countless weekends camping, hiking, and exploring the dense forests surrounding Asheville. But after what happened to me in the spring of 2020, I'll never step into the woods alone again. I had just gone through a messy breakup and needed some time to clear my head. A solo camping trip seemed like the perfect escape. I picked a secluded spot in Pisgah National Forest, far from the usual crowded campsites. The plan was simple. 2 nights, just me, my tent, and nature. The first day was peaceful. I hiked, fished in a nearby stream, and enjoyed the solitude. That night I built a fire and sat under the stars, listening to the crackling wood and the distant hoot of an owl. It felt perfect. But then I noticed something. The woods had gone silent. If you've ever been deep in the forest, you know there's always some noise. Rustling leaves, insects, the occasional bird call. But now it was as if the entire forest was holding its breath. An uneasy feeling crept over me. I shrugged it off and went to bed. But in the middle of the night, I woke up to the unmistakable sound of footsteps outside my tent. Slow, deliberate. I froze, holding my breath. My heart pounded so hard I thought it would give me away. I reached for the knife I always kept in my sleeping bag and listened. The steps circled my tent, crunching the dried leaves and twigs beneath them. I strained my ears, hoping to hear an animal's telltale sniffing or rustling, but this was different. This sounded like a person. Then, just as suddenly as they had started, the footsteps stopped. I didn't sleep for the rest of the night. When dawn finally broke, I unzipped my tent and stepped outside, my knife still clutched in my hand. The ground was damp from the morning dew, but something else caught my eye. Footprints. Human footprints. Barefoot. They circled my tent once before disappearing into the woods. I wanted to believe I had imagined it, that maybe they were my own from the previous day. But they weren't. They were fresh, and they weren't mine. A deep sense of dread settled in my stomach. I packed up my gear in record time and started the hike back to my car, constantly glancing over my shoulder. The feeling of being watched was overwhelming. About halfway back, I saw something that stopped me in my tracks. A small wooden carving dangled from a tree branch by a piece of twine. It was crudely shaped like a person. A chill ran down my spine. I hadn't seen it on my way in. Someone had put it there during the night. I walked faster. The eerie silence persisted, and every rustle of leaves made my skin crawl. When I finally reached my car, I threw my gear into the trunk and locked the doors the second I was inside. As I started the engine, I glanced in the rearview mirror. There, standing at the edge of the trees, was a figure. Too far to make out details, but close enough that I could see it wasn't an illusion. I didn't stick around to find out who or what it was. I sped out of there, heart racing, and didn't stop until I was miles away. I never reported it. What would I even say? That someone had been watching me in the middle of nowhere? That someone had left footprints and a wooden doll outside my tent? I haven't gone camping since, and I never will again. Me and my best friends from college were looking for an adventure. A weekend camping trip in the Black Hills of South Dakota sounded perfect. Beautiful scenery, a chance to unwind, and no distractions from the outside world. It was supposed to be fun. It wasn't. It was me, Tyler, Jenna, Chris, and Becca. The names I have mentioned are made up. I am covering up our real names so that we can never be traced. By the end of this story, you'll understand why. This happened around 6 years ago. My 4 friends and I had known each other since college, and though we had all gone our separate ways in life, we made it a tradition to take at least one trip together every summer. That year, we decided to do something different. Camp deep in the woods, away from the usual tourist spots. Just us and nature. I had a map of the woods, and I marked a spot that was fairly deep into the woods. Not too deep, but deep enough that it was out of sight from the rest of the world. I was looking forward to this trip as it had been a while since I had gotten away and just relaxed. We packed light, brought plenty of food and beer, and hiked several miles into the forest before setting up camp. The first night was great, laughing around the fire, roasting marshmallows, sharing old stories. But looking back, there were signs even then that something wasn't right. It started with the noises, rustling in the bushes, snapping twigs. Tyler joked about bears, but we all knew something felt off. It wasn't just the sound of an animal moving through the woods, it was slower, more deliberate. I remember locking eyes with Jenna, seeing that she felt it too. Still, we brushed it off. Maybe just deer. Maybe paranoia. We had no cell service, so we were cut off from everything, but that was part of the appeal, right? Disconnect from the world, reconnect with each other. Then came the second night. We stayed up later than we should have, drinking and talking. Around 2 a.m., Becca got up to pee. She wandered just outside the glow of the fire, flashlight in hand. A minute later, she came running back, face pale as a ghost. "There's a man," she gasped, "in the woods." We all froze. "What?" Chris asked, already standing up. Becca pointed toward the trees, hand shaking. "Over there. He was just standing there." Chris grabbed a flashlight and shined it toward the direction she had pointed. Nothing. "Maybe you saw a tree," Tyler suggested, but he didn't sound convinced. Becca was shaking. "I know what I saw. He was standing there, staring at me." We all exchanged uneasy glances. The fire suddenly felt too dim, the night too vast. After a few minutes of scanning the tree line and seeing nothing, we convinced ourselves that Becca had imagined it. Maybe a trick of the shadows. But then, not even half an hour later, Jenna screamed. She was pointing toward the darkness beyond our tents. And this time, we all saw it. A man. A completely naked man. He was standing about 30 feet away, just barely visible in the moonlight. Motionless, watching us. He was completely naked. And when I say completely, I mean everything was exposed. All he was wearing was a pair of tatty old black shoes that looked to have holes in them. It wasn't completely clear because it was a little distance away, but it looked like he wasn't even wearing socks. It also looked like he hadn't eaten in days. His hair was long, and he had a rusty old beard that looked to be the color brown. My blood ran cold. He was tall, emaciated, his ribs visible even from that distance. His skin was pale, almost grayish, and his face was expressionless. His eyes locked onto us. I remember them vividly. His face was blank, but his eyes were filled with something. Anger, malice. "Hey!" Tyler shouted, stepping forward. "Who the hell are you?" The man didn't respond. He didn't move, didn't blink. Chris grabbed a rock and threw it. It landed several feet away from the figure, but he didn't even flinch. You see, Chris never really thought things through. He was the kind of guy who would just act and then think afterward. It sometimes got him into trouble. "We need to go," Becca whispered, gripping my arm so tightly it hurt. But before we could move, the man did. The man's eyes lit up, and a big, creepy, disturbing grin appeared on his face. As his eyes were gazing in our direction, he was looking at all 5 of us, his eyes moving side to side, checking us all out and sizing us all up from a short distance. I swear, I started to have a panic attack and I knew he was about to come charging at us. And yes, just as I thought it, he did. He came rushing towards us. He was fast, but luckily we were all fit and young and able to run quite fast ourselves. Tyler was a little slower than us, as he is slightly on the larger side. He isn't overly big, but just slightly bigger than average. "Run!" Jenna shrieked as we had just started to flee from the area where we had been camping. "Run, run," Chris shouted. None of us looked back. We just kept running and running. We bolted. No plan, no direction. Just running as fast as our legs could carry us. Away from the camp, away from that thing. Branches whipped against my face. My heart pounded in my ears. I had no idea where we were going, just that we had to get away. After what felt like forever, we stopped, gasping for breath. The forest was eerily quiet again. "Where's Tyler?" I choked out. Panic set in. We frantically called his name, but there was no answer. Then suddenly, in the direction we had just run from, we heard a man screaming. Then we heard the words, "Help me, he's got my leg." Those words to this day still haunt me. We stood there in complete silence, our hearts pounding. Frozen in fear, we didn't know what to say or do. Chris spoke first, his voice shaking. "We have to go get Tyler." Becca and Jenna were just silent, completely silent, frozen with fear, unable to speak. Maybe 40 or 50 seconds passed before we heard branches snapping. Something was moving toward us, and it was coming fast. "Look," Becca cried. "There's Tyler. We saw him, and he locked eyes with me." "Go, go, go!" he screamed. "Go!" We ran as fast as we could. Luckily, we were only about 30 seconds away from a road. As we reached it, we saw headlights approaching. It was perfect timing. We managed to flag the car down. It was an old, beat-up truck, but we didn't care. We babbled incoherently to the driver, a local man, who took one look at us and let us pile into the truck. We had escaped. But that's not the end of the story. 2 weeks later, 2 of my other friends, Zach and Brian, were over at my house playing video games. We were eating pizza, just hanging out. When I told them about what happened and they learned we had left all our camping gear behind, they got this crazy idea. They wanted to go back. I begged them not to. I warned them it wasn't a joke. But Zach, the more reckless of the two, insisted. "We'll just grab your stuff," he said. "Maybe we'll even find this guy." I gave them the map, and they left. 2 days later, Brian called me. His voice shook as he told me what they found. They followed the trail to our campsite. It was empty. No tents, no bags, nothing. But a mile away they found something else, a makeshift shelter. Logs stacked together, covered by a filthy plastic sheet, and inside, piled in a corner, was our camping gear. And next to it, an old tattered pair of shoes. Brian took pictures and sent them to me. My stomach dropped. The shoes were the same ones that the man had been wearing. Brian and Zach left immediately. I still ask myself, who was that man? Is he still out there? How does he survive? What does he eat? I don't think I want to know. I mean, I kind of do want to know, but at the same time, I am afraid to know, if that makes sense. I guess that some things are better left unanswered. Since then, me and those 4 friends have never been camping in any more woods, or camping whatsoever for that matter.